October 11, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. It was economic data that came out around 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is about right here. We see this big impulse, like small body, large tails. That was the core PPI and the PPI numbers. And after that, it was overall, it was a very, very slow day. These candles took quite a while to close. So on a typical minute chart, there is 6.5 hours. So that's about 360 plus another 60. So there should be about 420 candles. And you can see from here, open to about close, there's only 259 candles. So that's like a lot less than what it should be, even on a minute chart, right? Well, on a minute chart, you'd have 420 candles. So you can tell that it was just really slow trading. I only found really one good potential trade and maybe one almost trade. But other than that, the whole day was just a slow grind. It's what I would consider a go fishing day, where it was better to, had you known, it would better to just kind of go fishing and skip this day completely. I mean, it kind of gave some indication in the pre-market where there's just not very many candles printed. And then even after the first hour, because you can see from 6:30 Pacific Standard to 7:30, there wasn't that many candles. And then even then, this is starting from 7:30. And this is the next 5.5 hours of trading. Not much. So I'm going to get into the trades right now. Oh, it did make a new all-time highs, but even then, it was just a grind today. So I ended up taking no trades, right, which isn't surprising. I wonder if like a lot of people also just kind of sat out. So anyways, pre-market is sold off, bounced, and it's just kind of really choppy. And when I came to look at it in the morning, kind of see all this, and before the market opens, you can kind of get an inkling that maybe it's going to be a range day, but just the total volume and total volatility just looks really slow. So things open, it starts moving up, and I find this trend channel going up. I don't really know if I should trust it because I had other ones going on because I actually started from here, try to capture the tips. So in this case, this one, it never touches. And then I also had ones cutting a little more aggressively. I thought maybe this could be this one, could be slightly off. In any case, it was slightly off before I considered a bounce, but I did see a new high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. Now, second entry long, it's a break of this orange down channel. Break, technically tried one attempt down to test the low, came back, tested a second time, and made a second attempt double matching low. But then it closed, reversing back up above the EMA. EMA is kind of flat, moved up, and this kind of has a slight bullish bias. So I thought the EMA was holding. What kind of stopped me from taking this trade was this tiny little one tick pullback. If it closed the high, I would feel more confident. Or this trigger bar had to close one tick above this signal bar. Then I would know like there was enough power to push it up. Or this had to be a better signal bar because it's bearish, even though it's above the EMA, but it's bearish neutral. So although I thought it was a possible trade, it felt a little bit dicey. The other thing I liked about it is the risk, because this trigger bar is only 2 points, so it's only 8 ticks. It's well within my risk tolerance. But again, and I also saw this as potential support. So I have a lot of things going for it, but just a couple of things made me a little bit more reserved. So I considered a possible trade, but a little aggressive for my taste. And as you can see, it would have paid out right away. But unfortunately, I didn't, it just didn't quite line up for me. Prices then continue pushing up. You don't really get any very clean second entries. You only have first entry here, another first entry here. Pushes up, another first entry. Here, I'm not even thinking of going short, so I'm not even looking for second entry shorts at this point because it's just too risky. It's clearly bullish. Again, you have a second entry long here, but this is a really bad signal bar coming right after a doji bar. So it's just very choppy right here. Just kind of sitting on my hands. You have a first entry long, then you have a count reset. I call this a fail breakout, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, you could try to trade this, except this trading range, total range here is only about two points. So going for a 1 point scalp on a 2 point range is kind of dicey. And prices continue moving up. I mean, you do have a first entry short. You technically have a second entry short, decent signal bar, but it's just like you're clearly going bullish here. So you'd be counter trend trading, which is risky. You also have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this is no real setup. It's technically a second entry long, but doesn't mean anything. There's no trade to go long here because the bad signal bar is away from the EMA. It's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. Prices bounce. I thought I was kind of in another trading range here. A potential trend line coming down here. You do have, I mean, you have this consolidation area, but nothing very clean. And then it looked like it was falling into this clean magenta down channel. And at this point, I was watching and I was thinking, okay, it kind of hit the high because at one point I was thinking, is this an overshoot? Could it actually be lower here? But this dwell time outside the yellow up channel, I ended up dragging it up to here. And it looked like it fit pretty well. There is a tiny, tiny little break here, but I didn't really consider this as a violation of the total channel going up. I didn't see it as an overshoot to expect an overshoot here. So I was watching carefully for potential bounce here, but I need a very clean setup. And unfortunately, nothing is setting up. So I'm sitting and watching. It bounces. It's starting to respect this support of the yellow up channel, which it was already testing a few times here, which is good. But there's no clean trade. So you have the first entry short. Now I'm looking for a potential failed second entry short. You don't even get a second entry short here to create a failure because you have a first entry short. Technically, you have a hidden second entry short. First entry short, second entry short, and then you fail here. But I like to do it on a more cleaner count, which is a very deliberate push down, first entry short, and then you don't really get a second entry short failure till here. So you get a second entry short, and you don't really have a failure here yet because it can continue moving down. And it just gets choppy and it bounces. Now it breaks through. So there's like this whole area you just negate as any potential trade. It pushes down, hits two dojis plus 5 candles in a row that are really tiny. There's just a tug of war going on here. Hard to tell what's going on. EMA really isn't helping. You have this resistance here. I'm just watching. I can't quite tell what's going on. You have first entry long, and it makes a double top here. So you reset the count. You have another first entry long, pull back. You technically get a second entry long way down here. And I was thinking is on this channel going down because it fit pretty nicely. Then it violates it. And then you just have noise pretty much at this point. Just ugly noise. Yeah, I did see this. I saw this as a new low, first entry short. Right here, you have a push up and back down second entry short. Second entry short, it's a little far from the EMA. This resistance of this peach or orange down channel didn't really quite have a touch and rejection. And in real time, I'm already pushing toward the lows. So there's no real clean setup. I didn't even bother marking it, not even an almost trade, because this is just danger zone. You could easily bounce back up. Yes, the bias is going bearish, but it's just a dicey situation here. Pushes down, bounces, moves up on this green up channel, break, kind of moves back first entry long, but also first entry short. Technically, you have a hidden second entry short here because it's first entry short here, push up, but it never broke below this previous bar. So here, technically, you don't have a second entry short yet. Then you have a confirmed second entry short, but I'm just not that hot on this setup right now. Pushes up. Looks like if you did try to take it, you might have gotten lost, or you might have gotten stopped out. Excuse me. The first entry long, second entry long, first entry short, technically second entry short, and you don't have a second entry short failure yet here. You needed it to move one tick above, and finally you have a confirmed second entry long and a confirmed failed second entry short. But here again, it's just EMA's moving sideways. It's a little not the best. I mean, you could argue this is a decent signal bar, which it is, but even though the EMA isn't really in play, it felt a little noisy here. Plus, if you're looking at how long these candles are taking to close, this is a 10:01, 10:03. This is a 2-minute candle. This is a 3-minute candle. This is another 3-minute candle, 4-minute candle, another 3-minute, another 4-minute candle. So these are taking quite a while to play out, which when there's that much time, it makes me nervous, especially if I'm not confident on this setup. If it's a bulletproof setup, then I'm fine just sitting and waiting through it. But this is more of an iffy setup because it is below the EMA. It didn't break through. It does break through here, but then the follow-up isn't very convincing. So it's kind of sitting on my hands. And then this is what I consider an almost trade because I have new low. You have a first entry short on the technical account, one push down, pull up, second push down, and then here you have a failure. But I call it an almost trade because here I was suspecting it's going to be a failure and potential move back up, but I can't deny the fact that there is some kind of resistance here. So I definitely didn't want to take a trade and have it hit here and flush down. Also, this is the high. This is making a lower high. What's to say the next candle might come up, make a third lower high, then reject. Then I have a losing trade trying to go long. So almost trade, it's just not working. Left it alone. In this case, it did work, but there was no way for me to convince myself that it was going to do that. So again, sitting, watching, it's first entry long here, pushes up. You have first entry long here. Technically, you have a second entry long here, side by side mirror image candles that are opposites because it's like the same size body, except they're reversed. Opens here, opens here, closes here. Hard for me to really tell. I did see it as an overshoot, but I'm not really just ready to take first entry long, second entry long. I want a higher low, and you don't really get a higher low. It just kind of runs away with you. You technically get a higher low here, but I wanted the higher low. In this case, it did break low and push back above, and I was being extra picky today. Might be a trade good enough for someone else, but then I wanted a close the high. When this shows even a little inkling of weakness, especially when these candles are taking, so from here to here, this is a 5-minute duration. I'm just, there's just too much decision. I mean, there's too much opinions that are going on here that could ruin a good trade. And I didn't really consider this quite that good a trade, so I left it alone. Pushes up, breaks out of this. I thought there was some kind of resistance here, but it ends up actually being nothing, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Pushes up, creates these piano keys, which is just side by side. It breaks down. You have first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but this is a doji bar. So it's actually, you can see it right here. Maybe there is a second entry long potential fail breakout trade here. But as you can see, this is really late in the day. It's at 12:31. There's only 30 minutes left. I was already sitting through this noise and snooze fest that I was figuring, you know what? I'm green for the week. There's no need to try to force a trade, hoping this will work. Had this just closed bullish, had a body to it, or at least this doji was at the high end, like a nice hammer, then I think I would have entered. But it was, it just had even a little bit of, possibility that I just didn't really quite like. A little bit of not quite fully what I wanted, that I just said I'm just going to skip it. Considering it's a Friday, I didn't want to risk, giving back any profits. Plus, this would be the one and only trade. If I lost, that would probably it would affect me, and I'd be really mad and annoyed at myself. Considering that today really wasn't that fantastic to, just kind of bank on this last minute trade. So the flush is up, and this kind of goes into the last closing end of the day. And there's really no clean setup here. Plus, this is the last 10 minutes where things just get really volatile. But lately, the last week, I think last couple weeks, trading has been very slow. This volume volatility has just been not that great. A lot of the days were just similar to this, where the volume volatility it was just a grind. So didn't really see anything, didn't take any trades. Hopefully that was helpful.